So you picture this. The year is 2008. The financial world is collapsing. Companies are cutting budgets, freezing contracts, and laying off sales teams. Every VP of sales in America is in survival mode. Fear is really the order of the day across companies. And there is one person, one vice president, who does not just survive, he hits over 118% of the quota. The only VP in the entire organization to do that, not despite the crisis, but through the crisis. You're welcome to the Clarity Mandate. The world doesn't need more information. The world needs better thinking. And my guest today has built across 30 years of leading at the highest level of enterprise sales that you can think of, from managing over 75 producers to actually creating his own proprietary frameworks. And that is exactly the kind of conversations that this podcast was made for. And Jeff Brandeis, VP of Sales, veteran, founder, and architect of the V.I.B.E framework. You are welcome to the Clarity Mandate podcast.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. It's really an honor, and I'm sure this episode would really be impactful to our guests across the globe because we have listeners from across all continents. Before we get into the framework and the strategist, I want to start from the beginning. You spent over 23 years in the same organization. To me, that's like almost like a quarter of a century. What really kept you there? What were you building in that organization through the years that you couldn't have built anywhere else? Let's start from there.
You know, one of the things I always try to build when you're in an organization, and I was in a very big company, several $billion overall, and we were just stagnant. One of the things my CEO always talked about is, Jeff, what's your legacy? What do you want to be known for when you retire or you leave? And that was really one of my compounding driven or driving forces of my career, as I started actually as a sales rep and kind of worked my way up through the ranks of division manager, national accounts manager, and VP of sales. Is what's your legacy? What do you want to be known for? A lot of people are known for great leadership, bringing sales, but at the end of the day, what's that one or two things that you want to be known for? So that's why I stayed with the company. I was always a great challenge, great products, great morale, and you have your fun at what you're doing. Um, the old expression, is the grass going to be greener anywhere else? You know what you got. So just continue to seed and grow and move along. And that's what I did.
Wow, that's amazing. You heard Jeff. What's your legacy? That's the question he sought to answer. The grass is not greener out there. What's your own garden? And you would see it flourish. And this is the guy who really sought out to stay in one organization for a quarter century, close to water his own garden, and rose the ranks from sales rep to VP. And that is really amazing. But let's take you to 2008. It was the year of the global financial crisis. You are the only VP in the company to hit over 100% of a quarter. And most people celebrate that as a number. But I want to try and understand it as a decision because we are on the clarity mandate. What did you choose to do differently that many of your peers did not?
So honestly, that was one of my legacies that I'm so proud of, that we were able to achieve and surpass quota in 2008 when everything else was falling apart. What I really try to attribute that to is not to follow what everyone else was doing, because everyone else is complaining, oh, and we have no money. Why make a phone call? Why do a presentation? I'm just going to get the same old thing, that I've been hearing. Well, I try to drive into my sales teams and basically have them bandy around the adages. Things are going to get better. So, I mean, it's like with all due respects, stock market goes down, stock market goes up. Our bank accounts go down, our bank accounts go up. So, and we were still early in the year. So, what I really tried to encourage everyone was to continue to prospect, continue to do the presentations, build that pipeline so that it would slowly explode when we came into Q4. When I really had the feeling at some point things would turn around, the floodgates would open. And what typically happens in most companies, they have a budget and they need to spend that money. And if your pipeline is full and you actually did your job and you got everyone to the point of, hey, I understand you're frozen, but when things become unfrozen, what's it going to take to get you to do business? And that's exactly what happened. The floodgates began to open, the sales started coming in, and we were positioned to close as opposed to being in the position of, oh, I got to stop prospecting now. Now I got to find my leads. I got to find my prospects. We were 4 steps ahead of everyone else, if not 5 steps. So that's really was what the culture was all about. It's building that the leadership framework of, hey, trust, believe, and I mean, it was a great moment in that Q1 when we were celebrated the prior year.
Wow, that's amazing. While everyone was saying there is a casting down, this VP said to his team, action, action, action. We're not going to follow everyone else. And this VP said, let's be some steps ahead of everyone else. Jeff said, let's prepare ourselves for when every company is ready to spend. I mean, this is amazing. You, Jeff, managed 75 plus producers over more than 2 decades. That's not a sales team, in my estimation. That's a sales ecosystem. What is the single most important thing a leader must do in the first 90 days in a new sales team to set the performance ceiling as high as possible to achieve the kind of results you did or even more?
The first 90 days is imperative when you're first stepping into a new position. For me, it's all about, and I believe this today, even though even you go back 25 years, anybody stepping into a new position, it's all about communication. It's all about learning from your peers, your managers, the people who you're working with. Open, honest communication. And one of our mid-year sales meetings, we had the Blue Angels come in, and those are guys that fly those really fast jets, and they do acrobats and with the jets. But one of the key messages that resonated with me, even today, because I still obviously talk about, is after every mission, they come in and they go, forget my rank, forget who I am, forget I'm your boss. Nameless rank communication. When you're traveling at 500 miles per hour, you make a mistake, it's life or death. And that's, yes, we're not in the life or death situation when we're in our sales teams typically, but communicate. Let me know, hey, I'm not perfect. I want to surround myself with the best team that I could possibly have. And just like you want to be coached, you want to have ideas, you want me to provide you guidance. I want the same thing in return and make it a win-win for both of us. So nameless, rankless communication. I love it and I live by it today.
Wow, you had it, Jeff. Communication, communication, communication. Forget the titles and get the communication going and nameless, rank. That's amazing. But let's shift gear. You exceeded quota by 108 and doubled your channel partner base. Channel partnership, like are notoriously difficult to build across industries. Most organizations fail at this. So you want to walk our listeners through your architect for building a channel partner program from scratch. What is the sequence of decisions that most people might be skipping that you want to share with us today?
It goes back into my mind, communicate. Why should we be a partner with you? And honestly, instead of what's in it for me, think about what's in it for your partner. Because really, at the end of the day, that's what they want to know is what's in it for me? Why should I be a partner with you, or why should we collaborate together? And it's not about, well, I can provide you this, I can provide you that, and that's why you should be. It's again asking the right questions about, what are they looking for in a partner? What's their measurements? What their metrics are? What they see as what makes a great partner in their lives? It's opening that questions to really understand who you're speaking to. And honestly, whether you're building a partner team or you're trying to honestly sell to your product, it's more about what's in it for the person and their company than it is what's in it for me. You put yourself on the other side of the desk. That is what will make you successful more than anything else.
You heard it from the expert. What is in there for the partner? It's not always about you or your product or your service or what you're selling. It's about the partner. And that is the key nugget on that question. And you want to listen to Jeff and listen to the expert and listen real good. Let's talk for a moment about sales conversion and sales conversations crossing from transactions to relationships, because after 30 years, what is the inflection point that you kind of watch for? And what do most salespeople do that at different times in their sales cycles that will kill relationships even before they begin to produce results?
I think a lot of time we kill relationships is actually during our presentations, especially now that we're in a lot more of a virtual world where keeping the attention with your prospects, your clients, and your partners, it's a lot more difficult to get on a Zoom call and be interactive, to be able to be like you're standing next to them or you're having lunch across the table. So I think again, it comes back to a little bit of your style of your presentation. Are you, with all due respect, and I'll use a term, I don't mean to um, embarrass anyone, but if you providing them a death by PowerPoint presentation where all you're doing is talking for 20 minutes and you're not earning the trust, you're not earning that personal relationship, and all you're doing is, and going back to what we just talked about, present, 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 make them interactive, get them into your world. And the first 3 minutes, especially on if you're doing a webinar or doing a presentation, that's where you either build that relationship or you lose them, because it's so easy to pick this thing up these days. Okay, and I'll turn off the camera, and yeah, they might be on screen, but you lost them. They're not paying attention. So you got to engage your audience at the end of the day.
Wow, that's powerful. Engage them, engage them. The first 3 minutes are key. Thank you, Jeff. Let's look at what you did even more deeply. You increased qualified pipelines by over 165% at Fisher Identity, not just pipeline, qualified pipeline. There is a massive difference between pipeline and qualified pipeline. So I want you to share with us what discipline actually separate a team that builds volume from the one that built quality, because quality it's really what matters. And how do you instill that kind of a discipline in salespeople who are measured mostly by activity and not outcomes?
Well, if they're being measured by activity versus outcome, that's a management issue. I'll put it that way. At the end of the day, math or the numbers tell a story. And yeah, I can tell you why I didn't do this, why I didn't do this, like a thousand active leads, and but yeah, and only X number closed. But it's the math behind that those numbers is really what's every manager should be looking at, and every salesperson should be measuring their math and not just the activity of a pipe. Having a full pipe of 1,000 leads and only 20% of them are really what I'll call qualified, meaning that you have a honest possibility relationship that you could actually close them in whatever time frame it takes for you to close your product. Because different products have different time frames for closing. Some could be 30 days, could be a year, depending on how big the sale is, $1 million, seven, eight figures. Those will take a little while. But it goes back to, if you're building your pipeline, again, what's the major problem? What's the biggest issue your prospect is facing? Establish a lane, because that's what's going to get them interest. Yeah, it's kind of like going to a doctor. Yes, I have it hurts, doc. So what's a doctor going to do? Where's the hurt, Jeff? Okay, does it hurt when they touch it, or blah blah blah? They go do more diagnostics on you, right? But when you're building that pipe, part of it's the pain, but the other part of it is, if they implemented your solution, what will it be like in the future state? So you got to be able to have a path. You got to be able to kind of take them from their pain to take the two aspirins and you feel better in the morning, right? And that, yes, I'm simplifying it, but that's really in the essence what a person that's looking at your solution wants to know. And nowadays, with the internet, they probably know more about you than you actually think they do. But you need to explain it. You need to be able to join them and create that credibility, build the credibility, and be able to explain to them why they should be doing business with you versus your competition.
That's interesting. It's always about them. It's always about their problem. And it's always about you pointing them to the future state where you will take them from the pain point to the position where they don't have any more pain and they're happy doing business with you for the long term. So let's move beyond your corporate executive life. After 23 years, you left. You started your own training solutions. That was a significant leap from leading over 75 people to founder of your own company. What does it actually feel like, that kind of a transition, and what really prepared you for that?
Well, the transition was huge, even though you think you're prepared, but you never really know what preparation is until you actually take it all upon you. When you're working for, a multi-billion-dollar company, hey, I need a spreadsheet. I need a, webinar built, or I need, let's schedule something for the 15th of next month that we can go live with. But now when you're on your own, you're the chef, you're the cleanup man, you're creating your dates, you're getting people to build things for you. So you're everything. And that was probably, honestly, a transition I wasn't 100% prepared for, of how much work and the dedication that you have to put in when you are making a transition from, a corporate environment down to your own entrepreneurship. So that was a little bit of a rude awakening, I'll call it. But
That's
perseverance. Yeah.
Wow, you heard him. It was, you never know what is out there when you step out of a corporate pond into an individual entrepreneurial journey. And I believe it's been amazing for Jeff. And like he puts it, you never know everything at the point where you are moving. But let's shift gear. You are now the founder of engaging webinars with a proprietary framework, the Vibe system. Most entrepreneurs recycle ideas. I mean, you built a framework. You want to walk me through the framework that you built? What does it really stand for? And what specific problem did you observe for years that prompted you to come up with that kind of a model as a solution?
I'm going to shift my framework a little bit from what you had mentioned earlier. I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball here. So we redeveloped a newer modern framework, which we call Engage. Okay. And as I said earlier, we're in this virtual world, and more presentations are being done virtually. And if you're not really engaging your audience through that presentation, you're basically losing them. So we created a engage framework where the E kind of goes back to what we talked about before, which is establish the pain, establish why they're actually looking at you for something. And then in the end, in engage is name the outcome, name the better state of where they're going to be by using you. G is honestly give them a little show. Okay. Tell them a story, get them excited about what you've done, provide some testimonials. And we also have an app that actually also creates a more visual, engaging presentation that kind of plugs into that G as well. And then the A in engage is explain or show your authority. What makes you the person who you are? Why should they trust you? Why should they believe in you? Can you deliver what you're actually saying, what you can deliver? And that's so important in these days. And then the other G is probably the most challenging part of everything that sorry, that most people have, especially when they're doing webinars. That is get the people to your webinar, get them to your presentation, or get them to a conference hall, get them there. And then part of that is the missing piece that I see in so many companies is they don't have a process. There's no emails, there's no follow up, there's no reminders. There's, hey, 1 hour from now we go live. 10 minutes from now we're going live, and there's nothing built into their CRM, with customer relationship management program, to get the people there. And I also see very often with a G is you got 100 people registered and 20 show up, and and people are happy with the 20, but they forget about the other 80 and they do nothing with them. Why? They showed interest in at least signing up. Something happens, life happens, kids get sick, blah, blah, blah. Follow up with them. Then the last E is the basically engage, extend the offer. So often you go through a whole presentation, and nowadays it's, hey, thanks for attending. You know, appreciate you having questions. Here's my email. Okay. That's not a way to really extend an offer. There's no time sensitivity in there. You're not providing them anything. You're not providing them next action step, as I like to phrase it. So that's what we're now engaging our prospects and our clients with, is how to build this framework, how to create better slides, and how to really create a much more solid presentation from the opening all the way through the close.
Wow, that's impressive. And we're going to be putting details of our guest in the show notes, and we would put details of how you can engage Jeff further after this podcast to talk more about this framework, if it's something your organization wants to look at. Let's move to what you did over the years. Like, you led sales teams through 2001, the tech crash. You led them through the 2008 financial crisis, the 2020 pandemic. Those are three fundamentally different economic shocks. What changes really help you as a sales leader across those different environments? And what really stayed the same for you, regardless of the kind of crisis?
We all face crises every day, but the mindset, the methodology, the process, for the most part, stays the same. You might tweak it a little bit based upon what's transpiring in the world outside by us, but you got to remain true to your core beliefs and your philosophies. You can't just always change everything around on a dime, which honestly we had to do in COVID. I mean, that was earth shaking. That changed the way we did business, and people were not honestly trained or prepared to go into that virtual world. And what I saw back then, which I still see now, companies are still using Zoom and the other platforms no different than they did when they went through the pandemic. But your core sales process, your core finding prospects, getting them through your funnel, that is the same. Your messaging might have changed, your presentation style might have changed. So you got to adapt based upon what you're thrown at, but still maintain your key principles.
Wow, thank you. Maintain key principles, and your messaging might change, presentations might change, maintain key principles. You, Jeff, trained salespersons through your university, your sales courses, you increase sales for different sales teams that come across your program by huge margins, over 33%. Training is an investment that most companies sometimes treat as cost. And what is the framework you use to design a training program that actually changes behavior for people to look at sales training as an investment, not as a cost, not just knowledge, and how you can actually help them measure that this works or doesn't work?
The key is really if you're going, everyone should invest in, I'll call it coaching as opposed to just training. I'm not trying to train someone to be a high jumper or run faster. We're trying to coach them to have better skills and to be able to obviously close what business at the end of the day or maintain client relationships or higher renewal rates. And we talked about this earlier. They're all metric driven. So if we look at where you are today, and then we go through our process, and let's measure that in 3 months. Let's measure that in 6 months. Are we gaining momentum as we're moving up? Are the numbers increasing? Are the percentages increasing? Is morale even getting better because the sales guys and gals are now closing more business? They're making more money. The management is happier. I mean, it just changes the whole outlook for everybody. So, uh, the metrics are in the numbers.
Wow. It's in the numbers. The metrics is in the numbers, and he's emphasizing this point. He made it before, and he's making it again. It's about the numbers. And if a sales leader in our audience right now is managing a team that is underperforming, a pipeline that looks full but converts poorly, and a personal credibility question that in the boardroom they're questioning what's going on, what is the first decision that they need to make this week? Not this quarter. Like if they're listening to you today and they really facing this problem and they're like, oh, we stumbled on this podcast episode by this guru and we are facing this serious problem. What could they start doing this week?
First thing, reach out. Actually, the really first thing is to obviously recognize that there is a problem. Okay, because that's a lot of times we put our blinders on and we only look ahead and we don't really think about where we are. And I'd also go back to the previous quarter, to the previous year. Okay, where you were successful in the prior year or the prior quarter. Are we now trending down? And I mean, if that trend continue, what's going to happen to the company? What's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to your sales team? And that's obviously not a state that we want to continue in. So it goes back to the earlier question: is I need coaching. I need to get my sales teams morale up higher. What's not working, and let's diagnose that as quickly as possible and turn things around. The longer you wait, the old Einstein theory of the definition of insanity, continue to do
Mhm.
the same thing over and over again and expect
Expecting to change.
yeah, hey, nothing. It's not going to change unless you do something.
Thanks, Jeff. You at him. If you're in that kind of a scenario right now, the first thing to do this week, not later, is to reach out and ask for help so that your problem be diagnosed properly, your metrics, and You will get Jeff and his team help you to go through this and take you, because guess what? He's helped thousands and thousands of salespeople go through things like this. Jeff, you have built companies, trained and coached hundreds of salespeople, develop frameworks that actually convert and served on board. So when you look back, what is the belief about selling or conversion or marketing that actually took you the longest to unlearn, so that you get to the path where you are really winning and helping others win? And how did you replace that?
So I think my challenge when I first got into sales was, honestly, I was an accountant in my former life. Believe it or not, I spent 5 years in public accounting, and I was introverted, and it was kind of for me, changing a little bit of personality, but realizing that at the end of the day, it's not about me. And honestly, I was in the shoes that our listeners are probably listening to right now. Okay, I wasn't successful. I wasn't blowing out my numbers. I wasn't hitting records every year, and was a transformation. It's a learning curve. And even the best athletes, and even those that don't make it to the majors, everyone has a coach, and it was finding a mentor that helped me learn, helped me learn how to do things a little differently. And it's not what you say, is how you say it at the end of the day. So being open minded to comments, I'll call it criticism, or taking suggestions, as opposed to, oh, don't tell me what to do. I know everything. I don't. So I think getting your guard, mm, checking you at the door, or nameless, rankless communication. Just talk to me the way I'd want to be spoken to on the other side of the desk.
Wow, that's powerful. Accountant turned sales VP from ground up. And he puts it this way: you have to unlearn. He was an introvert. Now he is training people to become efficient, successful salespeople, not just training and coaching them, but developing a framework that has been tested and it works. And you want to reach out if you need help. This podcast is called the Clarity Mandate. And I believe there is a moment in everyone's life and growing cycle, personal career, that forces you sometimes to choose that clarity is no longer an option. It becomes the only way forward. For you, that might have been that leaving a corporate career to building the companies and the frameworks that you have now built and now using to coach and train. What was clarity like for you? What was your clarity moment? What did it cost you? And what did it unlock inside of you, the potential that you might not have been sure you had it?
Clarity kind of comes in lots of different ways. I think for me, getting through that crisis of 2008, the financial crisis, was really my big aha moment, so to speak, because it really kind of helped define me as an individual and as a leader. But yeah, I mean, as you rise through the ranks and you kind of move up, there are costs involved. I mean, you're working more hours, you're flying around into get on more airplanes, you become, the elite frequent flyer. You build up these Hilton points, the Marriott points, and it takes away from from a family time, to be candid with you. And not that it actually led to anything detrimental in my life, but you look back and you go, where did the time go? Because, even today, you look back, God, I can't believe we're in May already, 2026. It just seems like we just started January, right, with the new year. But at the end of the day, you gotta have the support system around you. You gotta have the belief from your superiors, or the interior belief of yourself, that what you're doing has an impact. It makes a difference. And that's one of the things. My goal was to really have more impact on more people, and ask of others that and do treat others the way they haven't been treated by other managers. And I'll say one quote. One rep that came to me with a problem, and I said to him, "So if this was your decision and you were in my shoes, what would you do?" And Bot looked at me and goes, "No manager ever asked me that question. Thank you for asking that." So again, it's not what you know, it's getting the ideas of your team and to build that morale.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful. Jeff, as we begin to round up this episode, is there anything you would like to leave with our audience?
We are on this earth to really create your own legacy. Do what you want to do. Be passionate about what you do. It. You have, I always like to live under an adage of try to do better than I did the day before. You know, winning or winning is a habit. The more you do it, the more you enjoy it, and you wake up every day thanking God that we're here and we have another day to perform. So it's those are a couple of my beliefs and what drives me every day, and to continue to spread the word and try to get more people to be better than what they were yesterday.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This has been our guest for this episode, Jeff Brandeis, executive veteran sales VP, 30 years of performance. I mean, he's done it. He's grown through the process, done it. He is now coaching and training others to do it. He has built from zero two companies and has his own proprietary system for turning a room of strangers into actual buyers. What you have given our audience today is not theory. It is the architect that they need to build results and the mandate that you have actually chosen to answer the questions that is on many of our listeners' minds, because it's all about the numbers. It's all about really conversion. It's not just about your sales pipeline. That is really worth being grateful for. So, to everyone listening to the Clarity Mandate out there, the mandate is clear. Our guest, Jeff, has made it so clear, and now it's your time to execute. Whether you're reaching out to his team, we're going to put details in the show notes, and we'll put links, we'll put resources that you can use to reach out to our guest and get further help. And this is your humble host, Dr. Vivian Atud, and this has been the Clarity Mandate.